You're gonna hear the truth about the sodomites.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Jen, this is Fundie Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about Christian fundamentalism while sometimes doing my makeup, sometimes just serving looks. So today we're going to be talking about Pastor Steven Anderson and his movement, the New IFB. I will say that I'm not redoing this video because my opinions have changed, it's just I have a better camera now. I still hate him and I'd like to properly express it in HD. Interestingly enough, Steven Anderson and all of the YouTube channels associated with Faithful Word Baptist Church have been taken down from YouTube. So the only clips that survive have been mirrored by other people, and I'm gonna shamelessly reuse clips from my old video to save time and sanity for all of us. I am also aware that some new information has come to light since my last video. Anderson and his family are currently involved in an underage sex scandal, so we'll be talking about that later. Pastor Steven Anderson was born July 1981. He is the pastor of Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, Arizona. This church was founded in 2005 and is located inside of a strip mall. The inside is adorned with art that can only be described as sick-ass 70s van mural. Faithful Word Baptist Church has been declared a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, a label that Anderson acknowledges and wears with pride.
No one will ever shut me down. The only way to shut me down is to kill me. And even if they kill me, I'll just be that much more popular.
Anderson does hard preaching, unlike those other guys at the old IFB. In his case, by hard preaching, Anderson really means he's throwing a temper tantrum. He often throws things, jumps on his podium, and is always trying to knock his poor coffee over.
Kids do not have the guts to stand up to reprobates. I'll stand up to them. Unlike most preachers that are a spiritual babe in Christ.
Hello, darkness, my...
Picked on by the fags. You know what? They don't bully me. Take me on! Huh? Bunch of filthy sodomites and queers. I'm the one who has the guts to preach against them!
He's also a fan of using slurs that one would commonly hear from a 12-year-old on Xbox Live. And while Anderson is technically a pastor, it must be said that he did not finish college and has no real foundation for his teachings. On his website, it even says he holds no college degree but has well over 140 chapters of the Bible memorized, word for word, including approximately half of the New Testament.
Wow.
Today, most Baptist churches are started by Bible colleges. However, the Bible makes it clear that the church is the pillar ground of the truth, not a school. Funny enough, I myself was recently ordained by the Universalist Life Church, so despite both of our titles being similar, and I am also just an idiot off the street like Anderson, I must ask you, who would you rather listen to? Anderson appears to be positioning himself as a figurehead for what is now being called the New IFB. IFB stands for Independent Fundamental Baptist. Churches that are IFB do not have to answer to anyone, and they're not a part of a large hierarchy like the Southern Baptist Convention or things similar to that. The New IFB does not consider itself to be a denomination, but requires that affiliated churches follow a set list of doctrines. Some of the facets of their doctrines are salvation by faith alone, once saved, always saved. The King James Bible is the preserved, inerrant, infallible Word of God. The Trinity, soul-winning, hard preaching, anti-worldliness, anti-Calvinism, anti-dispensationalism, anti-Zionism, and the post-tribulation, pre-wrath rapture of the church. Apparently, the old IFB was too liberal, so Anderson decided that there should be some changes. Steven Anderson comes from the Jack Hyles School of Theology, and I mean that both metaphorically and literally, as he attended Hyles-Anderson College. This school is named after Pastor Jack Hyles of the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana. Hyles was very influential to the IFB movement and inspired many a hate preacher such as Anderson. Hyles Church rose to prominence in the 80s and 90s and had a very tense cult-like atmosphere. Hyles was an angry man, and several members of his preaching team liked to enhance their sermons with sexual innuendo. Women in the church have to be in total submission, and the story goes that members would not even rearrange the furniture in their homes without his permission and input. Such was the totality of Hyles' iron-fisted rule. Hyles' successors include Joseph Combs and Jack Scott, and as of currently, at least 18 people connected with Hyles-Anderson College and First Baptist Church of Hammond have been convicted of sexual assault charges. And I do plan on doing a video about him, so for now, we have to move on. Anderson has a lot of quirky views, and by quirky, I mean deeply concerning.
So with things that happen in America, like terrorist attacks in America, does America deserve that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Even as we spit in God's face, even as we, murder 3,000 unborn babies a day, even as we promote homosexuality and adultery and promiscuity all over the world, and then we just assume nothing bad's going to happen, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't jive with what the Bible teaches. The Bible says that the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. So that's the United States.
His family is anti-vax, anti-government, and does not believe that women should be able to speak in church. When confronted about the sexually inappropriate chats his sons were having with underage girls at his church, Anderson lashed out and preached a sermon called Loudmouth Women, and on Facebook told a woman that he would rather resign than pastor people like you. Anderson has also expressed that men who pee sitting down are not real men, and this has earned him the nickname the pissing preacher on many snark sites.
Reading the Bible, and I kept seeing this phrase, and I studied this phrase in the Bible. It's used 6 times, and it's used by God. It's used out of the mouth of God. Have you ever seen that phrase in the Bible? Put up your hand. Him that pisseth against the wall. You see that in the Bible. It's used 6 times. What is he talking about? All the men. Because there's a difference between men and women. Men piss against the wall. Women don't. And God said a man is somebody who pisses against the wall. Why are you preaching this? Because it's in the Bible. Okay. I was in Germany, and I went to use the restroom in Germany in several different people's houses. I mean, totally different people. And even in public places, they had a sign that prohibited a man from peeing standing up. I'm not kidding. I mean, you can ask, my wife is from Germany, and I was there for 3.5 months. They had a sign in people's house, they had a sign in the public restroom that prohibited, and I'm not going to, it was like a circle and a line through it, and it's no peeing standing up. And I asked my wife, I said, is that like, I thought it was a joke. She said, no man in Germany pees standing up. That's where we're headed in this country, my friend. We got a bunch of pastors who pee sitting down. We got a bunch of, and you say, oh, you're being vile. I'm not, hey, then God's being vile. God's the one that wrote the Bible, my friend. We got pastors who pee sitting down. We got the President of the United States probably pees. We got a bunch of preachers. We got a bunch of leaders who don't stand up and piss against the wall like a man.
Besides being a preacher, Anderson produces conspiracy theory movies. The kind that his buddy Alex Jones sells on his show.
And again, even if you're not a Christian, you need to see it. It's very well done because it explains why Christians will go along with anything now.
Well, yeah, you know what? And the film is important for Christian and non-Christian alike. First of all, if somebody's not a Christian, they need to watch the film and become a Christian because honestly, and that's explained at the end of the film. But honestly, I don't understand how you can look around and see all these things happening in the world today and then look at the Bible and see that it's exactly what the Bible said would happen and then say,
well, see, what I do is I just point out what the New World Order is doing and I just say, hey, you want to see it? Then people will actually watch it.
Right. Even if you're not a Christian, I'm sure you have some Christian friend who just refuses to wake up and refuses to understand what's going on with the global government, the New World Order, the food supply, the water. This film is the ultimate film for waking Christians up because it's packed with Bible.
Well, look at Revelation. It talks about in the different passages how the kings of the earth and the sorcerers manipulate the pharmakia, the drugs, to drug the public and make us drunk. On the blood of the innocents. Pepsi puts the dead baby parts in. So it's like the golden child where they're trying to get him to eat the bad things so they can like spiritually get at him. But the point is they're sitting there point blank saying that they traffic in our souls. That's what they want. The globalists want our minds. They're not after treasure and power. Their minions are. The high-level Luciferians aren't even into materialism. They want our souls.
Exactly right. And this film, we spend about half the film just demolishing the pre-tribulation rapture lie.
The producer for the IFB's media enterprise is Paul Wittenberger, whose claim to fame is videos about chemtrails, fluoride in the water, and the commemorative Making America Straight Again DVD box set. Anderson is perhaps most famous for his hatred of gay people, whom he refers to as sodomites and other not so nice names.
Let me ask you something. Is our government for homosexuality or against homosexuality? For. There's no question about it. I mean, in the month of June, our government celebrates for an entire month a month of sodomy. June is LGBT month. Now, to me, LGBT stands for let God burn them. Right. Okay. But to them, it means, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. But you say, well, it's LGBTQ. Well, then you could say, let God burn them quickly. Or let God burn them queers or whatever.
I first heard of him when he made headlines for his statements about the mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub.
About the news this morning about the shooting in Orlando. I guess a Muslim terrorist went into a gay bar and shot him up, and there's 50 sodomites, homosexuals, that have been killed. The good news is that there's 50 less pedophiles in this world, because, you know, these homosexuals are a bunch of disgusting perverts and pedophiles. That's who was a victim here, are a bunch of just disgusting homosexuals at a gay bar.
Anderson, of course, has faced backlash from his statements. But like the aforementioned 12-year-olds on Xbox Live, criticism only seems to embolden him in his bigotry. As of 2020, Anderson has been banned from dozens of countries, including Ireland, New Zealand, Botswana, Australia, and Canada. He has also had his PayPal shut down, but continues to find new and creative ways to keep accepting donations. This is not the first or the last time that Anderson got in trouble for his so-called hard preaching. Again, in 2009, he faced serious consequences for essentially emboldening a church member to bring a gun to an Obama rally.
I hate Barack Obama. You say, well, you just mean you don't like what he stands for. No, I hate the person. Oh, wait, you mean you just don't like his politics? No, I hate him. Now, I'm going to prove this from the Bible tonight, why I should hate Barack Obama. Why God wants me to hate Barack Obama. Why God hates Barack Obama.
It's not like Anderson word for word said, please take a gun to an Obama rally and do it on my behalf. But he did say, if you want to know how I'd like to see Obama die, I'd like him to die of natural causes. I don't want him to be a martyr. We don't need another holiday. I'd like to see him die like Ted Kennedy of brain cancer. Also in 2009, Anderson was actually beaten by Border Patrol.
Are you a citizen or not?
You can ask, that's fine.
And you have to answer me, or I have to detain you until you can either tell me that you're a
Well, I don't have to answer you because I have rights as an American.
Sir, go ahead and pull over there. We're behind that other vehicle if you do me a favor.
No thanks. I'd like to just go on my way.
You can go on your way as soon as you tell me if you're a U.S. citizen.
Well, you know, I didn't know that I have to go around proving that I'm a citizen. Do I need to, like, show my papers like the Nazis, or...
Immigration.
am I immigrating somewhere, or
But we're supposed to check on
is this Mexico, or...
Anderson refused to move his car or roll down his windows at a Border Patrol checkpoint, which triggered a 90-minute standoff and the calling of Arizona Department of Public Safety officers to the scene. The confrontation ended when authorities broke Anderson's car windows, tased him, forced him to the ground, and beat him while he was lying prone on the ground. This is one of those situations where two assholes are fighting, and the only satisfaction we get is to see Stevie Boy get his ass kicked. Earlier this year, Anderson decided to monetize his experience and made a propaganda film about it.
Stop talking now, please! Stop doing your little video!
Anderson is also a proud anti-Semite, which I'm sure is a surprise to literally no one. He frequently compares Judaism to Satanism, and in 2018 he produced a documentary where he picked apart the Talmud, Kabbalah, and claimed that Jews were evil. Basically. The worst part about this movie is that Anderson went to different rabbis to interview them, claiming that he was working for PBS. Then Anderson actually went on to brag about this, and originally there was audio of this interview, but it's been removed, so I'll read it to you. I got a list of every rabbi in Arizona. I think I got 41 rabbis, and I just figured, you know, if I contact enough rabbis, somebody's going to agree to do it. And so I actually contacted all 41 of them, and I told them I was making a film about Judaism and the history of the nation of Israel, which is true, and I gave them a whole list of questions, and those questions are the questions that I asked in the interview, but I didn't tell them whether it was going to be positive or negative. Well, they just assume it's going to be positive because they assume that I'm going to be like the rest of the evangelicals in Christianity and bow down to the chosen ones and worship them and say how great they are. So basically, all 4 of them are going to hate this movie, of course, but it's the truth. They're false prophets and they deserve to be exposed, and I didn't lie to them. I mean, everything I told them was the truth. Because, yeah, I'm sure Jesus would totally be cool with Stevie lying to a bunch of Jewish holy men just to slander them. I can't believe we've made it this far in the story without talking about Zuzu. Anderson's better half, a term I use very loosely here, is his lovely wife, Susanna. She has her own presence on the net, and boy, if you thought Stephen was crazy, buckle up.
Costco is implementing a nationwide policy that all of their customers will be required to wear face masks that cover their noses and mouths. If you are not in agreement with this policy and refuse to wear a mask while shopping, I encourage you to do the 4 following things to push back against this policy.
Susanna Anderson hails from Bavaria, Germany, and she is quite crunchy and likes to do all things naturally, including homeschooling, medicine, and diet. She is even teaching an online course right now about how to use einkorn.
And einkorn is basically an ancient form of wheat. So it is a grain it's not going grain-free. It is a grain. It contains gluten, so it's not even going gluten-free. However, it is an ancient kind of a grain, one that's one of the original grains that modern wheat has been hybridized from. And its genetic load is very different from modern wheat. And because of that, many people who are gluten sensitive or gluten intolerant can handle einkorn just fine. Even for people like us who don't actually have a reaction to wheat, using einkorn will prevent future issues like allergies and gut issues, you know, that can cause other health problems.
She's also fiercely anti-government, just like her hubby. It has been reported that when Anderson met Susanna, she was an agnostic feminist. This should be taken with a grain of salt, since most evangelicals equate anything that isn't complete biblical submission to feminism. Plus, they are exceptionally fond of stories that present them as having converted feminists, so stretching the truth here would probably help their propaganda engine. So who actually knows what the situation was?
And when I met my wife, she was actually a feminist, and her views on everything changed.
And that was due to your influence?
Right.
And what made you attracted to her since she was not a believer, or she was an atheist?
I just got her phone number at that point because she had to go to work. Right. I just got her phone number and email address just because she was pretty. Right. And I'm a young man, and so I figured, hey, pretty girl, you know, do a little follow-up.
It wasn't to preach to her, it was because you were attracted to her.
Well, it was both. No. Do a little follow-up.
It's pretty obvious that Susanna is, for lack of a better word, dead inside.
But his wife, Susanna, wasn't religious at all until their marriage.
When you were younger, did you think this was how your life would be?
No, I didn't. No.
I first met her and her 8 children when she was pregnant with baby number 9. She homeschools all her kids.
Do you see Stephen as your boss?
It depends on what area. I mean, yes. The short answer is yes. But we're not going to.
Stephen has convinced her that women should stay at home and shouldn't vote or run for president like Hillary Clinton.
What do you think about a woman potentially being in the White House?
I think it's awful. I think it's awful on many levels. And not because women are worthless or because they don't make good decisions. It's just not their realm of expertise. Not that Hillary is just the most feminine woman out there, so probably doesn't even affect her that much. But you know, the Bible says it's a curse to have women and children rule over you.
As of late, most of the controversy surrounding Anderson has come from inside the house. Anderson's church, Faithful Word Baptist Church, has many plants across the U.S. For the unaware, church plants are kind of like franchises or branches. Since these church plants are run by Anderson's buddies, it can be assumed that they are just smaller versions of the main church in Tempe. The pastors there have the same homophobic, sexist, and generally disturbing beliefs. However, as of late, there has been all kinds of infighting, backstabbings, firings, and gossip between Anderson and his peers. And honestly, the back and forth between Anderson and his cronies is too long and complicated to talk about here, so I'll use a line from Girl Defined. Do your own research. The real scandal, however, is one that just unfolded recently. Several members of Anderson's congregation, including his own son and a 21-year-old, have been caught up in a situation regarding an inappropriate online chat room. These chats were between Anderson's sons and some other boys in the church. They talked about having a choking fetish and wanting to violently rape a girl that they knew, and plenty of uses of the N-word. There was also sexual images and other graphics that would even make Donald Trump blush. Now, Anderson said many times that his kids aren't even allowed to use social media, so he doesn't know where they learned this vile language.
I learned it by watching you.
You know, I wonder if they picked it up from their dear old dad. He seems like somebody who has an affliction for leaving fist holes in the drywall, if you know what I mean. In response to these chats that were going on, several parents confronted Anderson, and in response, Anderson and the church publicly bullied them and kicked them out of the church. Anderson and his wife also downplayed the seriousness of the allegations and claimed all parties, including the underage girls, were equal in their sin. Boys will be boys should be about when boys pull fun pranks like TPing someone's yard. It does not mean that, well, boys will rape, what do you expect? Anderson repeatedly implied that since several of the people involved in the scandal were not part of his church, that it wasn't his problem to deal with. Anderson is a pastor in Arizona, which makes him a mandated reporter, meaning since he knew about these chats and this inappropriate behavior and didn't report it, he can be legally held liable for his own inaction. But don't worry, Anderson made sure that his congregation knew that his boys were punished severely with a good old-fashioned American beating. Before I play this clip, just so you know, it's very terrible audio, and there's a baby crying, and someone's like crinkling a fucking hard candy, but you can hear Anderson talking about the situation.
I'm speaking about this, and I just want to start out and just explain what's going on, because there are two situations going on right now. Okay, now the first issue is that a few days ago it came to my attention that a whole bunch of teenagers in our church, a whole bunch, not a few, a big group of teenagers have been on this like private messaging social media deal that we didn't know about, okay? Because we don't allow our kids to be on social media. I know a lot of other people in the church don't allow their kids to just have unfettered access to the internet or be on social media, but sometimes kids find a way around these things, and they were in this group, and they were talking about all kinds of garbage, just a bunch of filthy stuff, just dirty jokes, and just a bunch of just offensive junk. And basically, it's just a bunch of idiot teenagers getting together and just one-upping each other. It's like the junior high locker room, and all of this just one-upping and shock value and dirty stuff. Here's the bottom line. It's wicked, it's wrong, and two of my kids were involved in it. Isaac and John were two of them, and a whole bunch of other kids in the church, okay? And here's the thing. As soon as I found out about it, you know, I came down like a ton of bricks on my kids. I gave them severe punishment for being on there and talking all this garbage and trash, and it, you know, I was horrified by it, okay, you know, because of the fact that I didn't know, like, where are they getting this stuff, where are they hearing it, where are they learning this stuff, where is it coming from, and how did they even have access to this when we thought we had blocked everything, and whatever, okay? So, you know, I found out about this a couple days ago, and so here's what I did. You know, I punished my kids severely, took away their privileges, and they're not going to have access to this stuff going forward, and you know what? To me, they said they're sorry, they submitted to the punishment. To me, that's the end of it.
We've established that Anderson is already a fringe weirdo, but did you know that he also runs several websites such as teachallnations.com, kjvprophecy.com, repentanceblacklist.com, which is now private, but once held a list of people who had wronged Anderson, as well as the True Sons of Liberty page that advocates for shutting down various government agencies. The best website he runs has to be Framing the World, which not only houses the conspiracy DVD section, but also sells natural toothpastes, Confederate dollars, and trading cards of your favorite homophobic preachers for $1. What a steal. In conclusion, Pastor Steven Anderson and his wife, his church plants, his message, they're all bullshit. Real Christians have taken the time to call out Anderson on every unbiblical thing he's done, and secular people have already torn apart his homophobic arguments. It seems everybody but Anderson is in on the joke. At this point, I wonder if God isn't in on the joke as well. Anderson is nothing but a pathetic little incel with rage issues. Hopefully he'll go away soon with his YouTube channel being taken down and his son's indiscretions. I hate him, I hate his rapist kids, I hate his crunchy wife, and I hate his loud-ass congregation. All this hate makes me want to write down a list of things that I love, like Sekhmet, Sour Patch Kids, a good indica, and the Fundie Fridays official fan club. Shouts out and thank you to my lovely patrons: Francis M., Lauren, Pam W., Angela T., Nicole W., Katrina J., Lindsay L., Allison J., Wooly, Sylvia K., Courtney G., Katie F., Tara D., J.M., Lizzie P., Emily H., Aubrey W., Kim A., Mandy N., Kaylin A., Ellen R., Chick P., Kim S., Debbie S., Lisa O., Wendy F., Ashley C., Jess L., Mel B., Liberty L., Deonce, Mara G., Hillary P., Andrea M., Kimberly A., Sarah R., Christy S., Turduckenrath, Causalotl, Katie B., Ashley D. See you in the next one. I love you guys. Please subscribe, get on the Discord, stay in school, get out and vote, eat your vitamins, and have a very blessed day.
I definitely like the power to influence masses of people. Absolutely. I like the power to be able to speak and thousands of people hear me within 24 hours. So yeah, I do like that. You know, because I want to, I want to do something big with my life.